Russia invaded Ukraine without cause on February 24th, causing a humanitarian, economic, and military crisis on a global scale. You might find this odd on my channel, but don't click away just yet. This video will increase your confidence in EV stocks and the electric vehicle takeover in the near future. Countries around the world have responded by sending aid to Ukraine, both humanitarian and military. Countries around the world have sanctioned Russia, cut off Russia from international banking and flights and travel. Now, all of this is a reaction, but we knew that Russia was up to something around this time in 2021, so a whole year ago. Now, why did the world not respond at that point? The world is just so dependent on oil and gas, and Russia produces a large amount of that. So in essence, the world is dependent on Russia for oil and gas. Look at where the oil and gas pipelines in Europe go. These are not just pipelines. These are Russia's tentacles coming to strangle the West. Russia produced 12.9% of the world's oil in 2020, second only to the United States. And in 2018, Russia was second only to the US in natural gas production at 669 billion cubic meters. The US was first at 831 billion cubic meters. The third is Iran at 239 billion cubic meters, so quite a ways behind. So you can see how dependent the world is on Russia to produce all of this natural gas and oil. Now, as a result of these sanctions, the oil and gas prices have gone up, energy prices have gone up, transport prices are going up, inflation will continue to go up, prices on everything in the short run, including food, consumer goods, anything that you can buy, those are going to go up. This is why countries are afraid to do any sort of sanctions ahead of time. They could only do this as a reaction because they just could not stomach these economic problems that sanctioning Russia would cause. And in fact, today, oil and gas continue to flow out of Russia because the world is not willing to really do this kind of damage. The economy will actually continue to recover from COVID-19, but probably at a slower pace. The Fed will likely continue to talk about hiking the interest rates. This is probably not going to stop the Fed from hiking interest rates. Maybe they'll do a 25 basis point hike instead of 50 basis points, as some people have been talking about because of this whole problem. But we need to focus on this problem. We are just so dependent on fossil fuels. And actually, on the reverse side, so is Russia. We can actually do a lot of damage by moving away from these fossil fuels. Not only we are doing sanctions right now, but we can also move away from these fossil fuels. It'll make them less important, make Russia less important, and also make Iran less important. Geopolitical issues are a huge impact on the economy. It's a huge impact on energy prices. It's a huge impact especially on people who use gas and oil. Now, I drive a plug-in Prius, so it gets a little bit of electric range. I remember when the pipeline got hacked on the East Coast. People ran out to get gas. And I was hearing about this from people in passing, and people were talking about it. And I looked at my fuel gauge. I had half a tank left. I said, I don't need gas for a month or two because I have that plug-in electric range. This is the cost of dependence on oil and natural gas. When we have a problem like a hack or a problem like what we're facing right now, you're severely impacted by price changes on the energy side. Now, not only is it a problem on the geopolitical side, we're also facing one of the largest crises that the world has ever faced. Now, many people still don't believe that it's real in the United States, but it's called climate change. Ecosystems and people fail to adapt if we don't do something about climate change. Food and water insecurity will increase. Health effects from heat waves and wildfire will increase, causing people to die from heat waves. Their homes to burn down. It's just economic damage all around. So these fossil fuels do damage to us as we're using them. It's so important for us to leave these fossil fuels behind for both geopolitical issues as well as climate change issues. The first way is one that we've been talking about all the time on this channel, electric vehicles. It's so important to advance electric vehicles in order to insulate ourselves from fossil fuels. Even a plug-in hybrid reduces our dependence on fossil fuels, making it so that we have to use it much less. The sun will shine predictably. The tides will continue to rise and fall. The winds will always blow, but the fossil fuels will not always flow. And this is why we need renewables. We need to decarbonize as soon as we possibly can in order to avert climate change and also to reduce the power of these autocratic countries. Now, some people may say natural gas reduces carbon emissions. I strongly disagree with that. Natural gas does not reduce our carbon emissions to the highest degree, not only because we have to burn it, but also because of well leaks, pipeline leaks, leaks at the source of use. I smell natural gas outside of some of the restaurants that I go to. You can smell it in the air. That's a leak right there. That natural gas is contributing to climate change at a degree that is much higher than carbon dioxide. We have to get rid of natural gas. Also, oil. We have to get rid of oil. We cannot continue to rely on oil and these fossil fuels to power our transportation, electricity grid, and all of that. Because oil causes local pollution, causes lung damage, causes climate change, and it also gives money to these autocrats who can do crazy things because they have money. Now, these renewables can also power all electric houses. There's no risk of a gas explosion or an improperly vented flue in an all-electric house. You won't be poisoning yourself with an improperly vented flue if you don't have one. All-electric houses will be less expensive to run because of the new technology in heat pumps. We'll have cheaper electric water heating, cheaper house conditioning, and then we also have induction cooktops, which are faster and more efficient than gas cooktops. These are all things that we can do to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, which cause climate change and give money to autocrats. Now, I also need to talk a little bit about stocks and the market because this is what we do. So I'm not stopping a purchase of index funds. I believe that the market is strong enough to weather this storm. I believe that we'll be able to move away from fossil fuels in a concerted manner over time. I don't know that it's happening as quickly as I would like it to. I buy funds like SPYX, which avoid fossil fuels. They don't contain companies like ExxonMobil. I would sooner buy stock in Lucid and Arcimoto, and you've seen my criticism of Lucid and Arcimoto on this channel. I would never purchase ExxonMobil stock. I don't want to have anything to do with a company like that. Now, I've talked a lot about Polestar. Some people might be curious, so I have to bring them in here too. GGPI, I'm expecting lower gains this year than I was expecting previously. I don't exactly know what the number might be, maybe $18 to $24. This is just pure speculation. And this is due to the interest rate hikes as well as the global economic slowdown as a result of this crisis. So we need to decarbonize enough so that we're not afraid to sanction Russia and Iran when we need to, because they have these fossil fuels. We need to be able to use sanctions as a preventative measure and not a reactive measure, and that means we need to get away from these fossil fuels. All Americans should be for the prevention of foreign influence on our economy. Our use of fossil fuels, either domestic or foreign, opens us up to damage when fossil fuels stop flowing. I do not want to see further violence in Ukraine, and I believe that Russia should return their troops home immediately. I hope that the steps that are being taken now will be enough. Hopefully we can work towards a sustainable world where we are not so dependent on Russia for their fossil fuels. I hope you found this video interesting and you will like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Putin needs. Russia, go home! Russia, go home!
The whole world will never forget this.